And today we are going to discuss about the topic soil resources. It is the second topic of chapter 2 in geography, land, soil and water resources. We have discussed about the land as a resource, and now we are going to discuss about the soil resource. You all know that soil is a loose material and it is a very important resource which consists of organic and inorganic substances that covers the topmost layer of the soil. So, as you all know that this soil is the uppermost layer of the earth crust, which consists of organic and inorganic substances, which covers the topmost layer of the soil. And you see, my dear student, this soil is an prime resource as we obtain everything either directly or indirectly from it. Therefore, this soil is indispensable as it provides a medium for the plant growth, and it has a right mixture of minerals and organic materials. I mean, minerals and organic matter, which makes the soil fertile, and it is the medium of the plant growth. So the soil is not same as everywhere. The quality of the soil or the nature of the soil determines the plant that has to be grown in that particular area. As you all know that we humans, we are always dependent on the natural resources, I mean the land. And from there we get a soil. So either directly or indirectly, we are always dependent on land, soil and water. As we are discussing about this soil formation is a very slow process. It takes millions and thousands of years. Soil is formed by the weathering of rocks, which takes place over millions of years. And that is why I told you earlier that the soil is a slow process. The soil formation takes place mainly in different layers like topsoil, subsoil, and bedrock, parent rock. The topsoil is rich in humus and supports all types of vegetation. So, I would like to say that the soil formation depends upon several factors like parent rock, relief, I mean the structure, flora, fauna, I mean plants, animals, and microorganisms, climate, and the duration of time. It takes thousands and millions of years. So the parent rock, where the weathering takes place, it determines the texture and mineral composition of that particular soil. And whereas this climate controls the rate of weathering, and the time decides the maturity of the soil. You see, all these factors are either directly or indirectly dependent, are the factors that affect the formation of the soil. The time is also very important because it determines the maturity of the soil, and this climate controls the rate of weathering, and parent rocks determines the chemical composition, the color, and the texture of the particular soil. And even plants, animals, and microorganisms also contribute to the formation of the soil, which affect the rate of humus formation, which contributes to the humus formation. And the relief of the land determines the accumulation of the soil. So, my dear students, these are the factors. These five factors are very important for the formation of the soil: the parent rock, the relief, the flora, fauna, and microorganisms, time, and climate. So, when I study about the soil, when I said about the formation of the soil, you all know that India has different types of soil. So now we are going to discuss about the types of soil that are found in India. The first, let's discuss about alluvial soil. You all know that alluvial soil is formed by the deposition of sediments, which are brought and deposited by the rivers along their course. So when these rivers bring deposition, brings sediments and deposit along the river course, in fact, my dear students, they are very fertile. Since they come from a longer distance and the sediments are break into very tiny particles, and when they deposit along the river course, these sand are very fine grained. They are very minute. In fact, This alluvial soil contributes nearly 40% of total land area in India. And obviously, because of the sediments that are being deposited along the river courses, after coming from a longer period of time and because of the erosion, the soil is really the rich and most fertile soil. They found along the river courses. And because of this rich fertile, these soil are best suitable for growing sugarcane, paddy, maize, etc. And this soil is rich in potassium. The next soil that we are going to discuss about is black soil. You all know that black soil are found along the Deccan plateaus. I mean around Maharashtra, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh, few areas of Madhya Pradesh. And these are formed from the weathering of igneous rocks. They are weathered, disintegrated at the same place for a longer period of time. So there is a disintegration of soil. It's known as weathering in situ at the same place. And these kinds of soils are found in northwestern parts. I mean, as I told you, that in that peninsular area, that is Gujarat, Maharashtra, and parts of Madhya Pradesh. And this soil is rich in calcium, potassium, and magnesium. And this soil is very clayey. And because of that, we could see the cracks. And that is why locally we call this black soil as rigor soil. The main important thing in black soil is that it can contain the moisture for a longer period of time. So since it can contain a moisture for a longer period of time, it is best suited for the cultivation of a cotton. And it can also be used to cultivate oil seeds and tobacco. And since the cotton grows best in the soil, I mean in this black soil, and that is why we often call this black soil as a cotton soil also. We call it as a cotton soil because it is best suited for the growth of cotton. So the next soil that we are going to study is about the desert soil. I mean a red soil. We're going to study about a red soil. So the red soils are derived from, or it is formed due to weathering of igneous rocks and metamorphic rocks. I told you, weathering is a disintegration of rock materials at the same place. So it is formed due to the weathering of igneous and metamorphic rocks that are found along the southern parts of India, southern eastern parts of the peninsular plateau, India. Since this soil contain high iron content, it gives red color. The red color is because due to the rich in iron compounds. They are also best suited for cultivation by adding manures and chemical fertilizers. This soil becomes more suitable for cultivation of crops like Bengal gram, maize, groundnut, pulses, millet, etc. These are confined to the parts of southeastern parts of peninsular plateau. And the next soil that we are going to discuss is about desert soil. You all know that what is meant by desert soil, where we get a scanty amount of rainfall, that is less than 40 centimeter of rainfall. So such kind of soils can be found where the rainfall is very low. You know that these Indian desert are found in Rajasthan, and here since we don't have any moisture content, and since we don't have any rainfall, which is very low rainfall, the sands, the topmost layer in this area, the soil is very sandy and it has low humus and moisture content. Yeah, of course, it can be cultivable, but only with sufficient irrigation and by adding proper manure and chemical fertilizers. So the next soil that we are going to discuss is about laterite soil. So laterite soil is formed in areas where excessive leaching is taking place. These soils are formed by intense leaching in the tropical regions. It is because due to the heavy rainfall. So these soils are infertile. They are less fertile because the topmost layers of this soil, which is rich in humus content, is being eroded. So this soil has a low moisture content, has good moisture content, but less fertile, low in fertility. So therefore, this laterite soil can support only patches and shrubs. So such kind of forest laterite soils can be found in areas where we have tropical region forest. And the next one that we are going to discuss is about mountain soil. So these soils are found in hilly slopes. For example, let us take a Himalayan region where we have vegetation, forest vegetation. So such kind of soils are found in mountain regions. I mean, hilly regions, hill slopes. This soil is formed due to decaying of organic matter. Since this is formed due to decaying of organic matter, this soil, I mean, this mountain soil is rich in humus, but they are less fertile. But at the same time, they are best suitable for cultivation of tea, coffee, plantation, and spices. So, my dear students, we have studied about what is soil and the factors that affects the soil formation and the different types of soil in India. But we are studying this chapter land and soil and water as a resource because these natural resources, though they are renewable and they are from nature, it is our duty that we should always conserve them and we should always protect them. But the manner in which we are cultivating at this century and the manner in which we are using the soil is causing more land degradation. It is causing more vast effects. So the soil at that particular place, because of some faulty practices, the topmost layer of the soil is getting eroded. And that is what we call it as a soil erosion. This is a time and a need to study about the soil erosion. The removal of topmost soil from one place to another place is known as soil erosion. Therefore, I would like to say that erosion, I mean soil erosion and depletion of the soil are the two major problems associated with the soil resource. There are many natural factors. There are many problems, factors which cause soil erosion, like running water, wind speed, which results in the degradation of the soil. For example, then human activities, and those are natural factors. That is, running of water and wind are the natural factors that results in the degradation of the soil. And when you come across the human factors, it is like deforestation, overgrazing, mining, construction, urbanization, and excessive use of fertilizers have resulted in the degradation of the soil on a large scale. Yes, of course, my dear students, due to the growth of a population and increase in urbanization and increase in industrialization, we are degrading the soil on the large scale. Because soil is one such most important natural resources for human beings as we are directly or indirectly dependent on it. Therefore, soil needs to be conserved for sustained productivity of food grains. We need to protect the soil from the extensive erosion as because this formation of soil is a slow process. So now let's discuss what are the methods of conservation of soil erosion. The first and foremost I would like to say every time that when we speak about something, it is always afforestation. The afforestation can be the best idea. It means planting of trees on the wasteland. And this helps in prevention of the topsoil. So afforestation can be one of the best method for the conservation of soil. And the next can be the counter barriers. So the barriers, for example, the barriers are built like a speed brake that you can see in there, that you can see when you travel in the national highways or in the district roads or the state roads, state highways. like a speed brake. I hope that you all would have seen the speed brake. So it reduces the speed. So such kind of a barriers can be built with stones, grass along the contours, so that the topmost layer of the soil will not be eroded very fast. And next, in hilly slopes, you can see about the terrace farming. The hill slopes are cut like flat steps on the steep slopes of a mountain, on the hill slopes, where the cultivation can be done on that flat surfaces. So the main reason here is it reduces the speed of the water flow. By the reducing the speed of the water flow, it can check the soil erosion. Since we have made it as a terrace flat like structure, like a steps, it checks of the soil erosion, it reduces the speed of the runoff, and even the topmost layer is eroded, it will always get deposited in that flats like structures. So that why we can practice this terrace farming as one of the most conserving method. And next you see it is about counter plowing. Counterplay means cultivation of crops along the natural contours in order to check the run flow of water. So cultivation along the contour lines, instead of up and down, the slope will reduce the force of running water, the hill, and reduces the soil erosion. So when we when we cultivate along the natural contours, the speed will be reduced, the run of the water speed will get reduced, and it checks the soil erosion. And the next crop type can be of intercropping. Two or more crops have been cultivated in an alternate row because they are sown at different times and they're harvested at different times, so that it can always check the soil by from being washed away. So it checks the soil, it protects the soil from being washed away by the rain. So the next one is shelter belts. So along the coastal region and dry arid regions, you could always see the high wind blows over and removes the topmost layer of the soil. So when we plant trees in a row, it protects, it reduces the speed of the wind. And this row of a tree planted along the farms acts as a shield which protects from the strong winds. The growing of trees in rows, in a straight row, will restrict the force of the wind and it will always protect the soil layer. So it reduces the soil erosion by wind. So this is one of the method which can be practiced in coastal regions and in arid region. And the next one is mulching. So what is mean by mulching? In arid and semi-arid regions, plants are covered with a layer of organic matter like wet straw or leaves to retain the soil moisture. You could have seen this in many cultivable land where the plants and the straw are left on the plant and the field, so that it holds the moisture content and helps the soil retain the moisture. And because of this, the soil is always wet. Since it is wet, it can be prevented from soil erosion and it cannot be easily blown away. So this is one kind of the practice methods that we can use to prevent the soil erosion. So besides this, there are other factors, that use of chemical fertilizers. We should always have a check on use of chemical fertilizers and control of deforestation and overgrazing. So by this, we can minimize the erosion of the soil. Thank you, students.